Jets GM Joe Douglas gave an update on quarterback/podcast guest Aaron Rodgers, who is less than 8 months from his Achilles tear.
And potential VP candidate, don't leave
No,
that out
that's
of his
done.
mind. Well, he was a potential VP.
Take a listen.
Aaron's doing great. He's moving around well. I mean, just having him back for the last few weeks of practice and having him run our scout team was amazing. He actually built a pretty cool rapport with some of our practice squad players. He's moving around great. He's flinging the ball as well as ever.
Okay, here's his MVP season. So this is what slinging the ball as well as ever looks like. 45-6, 38-5, 48 touchdowns, 5 interceptions in 2020, and in 2021, 37 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. These are insane numbers. And his most recent MVP year was 38. So, Nick, what's your reaction to the idea that slinging it better, or as well, not better, as well as ever?
And I would consider his most. He was 37 until December of that.
Yeah, so we
year.
did end of the year.
So then I guess this would be his age 41 year. I look at it more, but regardless, just lower expectations.
Awesome.
Like, Aaron hasn't been remove the Achilles. Let's pretend he never popped his Achilles tendon. Is there any quarterback entering this season at 40 years old who hasn't been excellent the last 2 years that you would expect to be excellent? And then add the Achilles.
Well, it's
tendon.
really the last 1 year.
No, but
we don't know what would have happened
with
the Achilles.
Right, but I guess my point is the last time we saw him be excellent was the 2021 season. Since then, he has played one full season poorly, and then one season he suffered a debilitating injury. And there is also the Tom Brady of it all, which is, I feel like, a similar thing that aging superstars in the NBA are going to deal with because of LeBron. We need to remove Brady and LeBron from any, here's what people can do at such and such an age comp, okay?
Okay, so I want to stop real fast because there's two main things that I want to mention. One, I hear what Nick is saying for the most recent point, what he said about comparing LeBron and Brady, and I brought that up too in the past, where it's like, are these guys true outliers and exceptions, or are they an indicator of what the future is to come in terms of players playing older and older and older? And I think it's a combination. I think they're incredibly lucky from an injury and genetic standpoint, as well as some of the work that they put in. And so I think, other players will be playing later, but probably not at the levels or as long as Tom Brady and LeBron James, right there at the far end of the spectrum. But then I do want to say, well, then Nick Wright, you better understand that Patrick Mahomes isn't going to play until he's 45 either. So, especially when he relies on so much mobility that, he better win his rings right now. Otherwise, he has no chance at catching, Tom Brady. So that's just, one other throwaway point that I want to say. In terms of comparing Aaron Rodgers, what he did, he said he had a bad year in 2022. That team was young. He didn't have weapons. There was injury concerns. And yet everyone's acting like that's just the new ceiling of Aaron Rodgers. And again, I want to throw it back then to Nick Wright, where it's like, well, look what happened last season with Patrick Mahomes' numbers. They were not good. Literally, by the numbers, Tua looked better, Brock Purdy looked better, Baker looked better, Matthew Stafford looked better. A lot of quarterbacks, technically, via stats, looked better than Patrick Mahomes. Does anyone think that Patrick Mahomes is not a good quarterback? Does anyone think, well, hey, Patrick Mahomes is just overrated and he just had a few good years and now this is who he really is? No. They talk about, well, what about the team around him and all of that? So I think it's unfair to hold that last season in Green Bay, which, one, he was clearly not happy with. Two, that team was really young and it's hard. Even LeBron James, because he brings up LeBron James, as well as a more relevant Tom Brady, at a certain age, they don't want to play with these younger guys. That's why Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay and got a couple older, more mature guys to be with. And that ended up being, I shouldn't say just necessarily mature, but just older guys, and that mattered. That was the difference. Getting Gronk and AB, who's obviously not mature, but seasoned veterans, know how to win football games, know how to play, know what to do in every single moment of a game. That was a difference between winning a Super Bowl and not. What if Aaron Rodgers had Gronk and AB in 2021. Do you think they'd have a better season? Yeah, I think so. So I just don't think it's so fair. I mean, to just use these numbers and just say, see, he's obviously not that good. That's just not fair.
Guys at age 40, which is what Aaron is already, to be excellent for a full season. Brett Favre once. That's it.
Warren Moon.
Warren Moon was not excellent. He was healthy.
Back then, those
okay, so
standards,
Warren
he
Moon,
made
I think,
the
had
Pro
16
Bowl.
touchdowns, 4 picks, and Warren Moon also was
no, 25. He had a year with the 25 touchdowns, 16 picks.
16 picks.
At
okay.
that point,
sure,
you know,
fair
the
enough.
stats were different back then.
But also Warren Moon, and because I'm glad you mentioned him, because I had him jotted down. Yeah. Warren Moon, well known to this day for being a physical specimen, like one of the most. And then do people be like, what about Drew Brees? Both of Brees' 40 and 41-year-old seasons, his numbers were good, and he missed half a dozen games. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I just pump the brakes on better than ever. Just be
as good
average.
as ever.
Or as good as ever, pardon me.
Obviously, that's ridiculous, slinging the ball as well as ever. Mm-hmm. But, and I think Nick is coming around, because that was a very tepid kind of review. Usually you're ripping him. You're going to rip him because you don't like the Jets.
For his nonsense.
That's right. But, I mean, you were like, you admitted the other day you're starting to open up to the Jets. They had a good draft.
I give them credit.
That's it.
Here's what I'm saying. Obviously, he's not slinging the ball as well as ever. But there's reason to believe that he's going to have a good year. He's got the weapons. Mm-hmm. Y'all know. Do I have to go over?
No, we know. we know.
He's got good weapons. He's got a very good defense. So much so that if they don't at least fight for the playoffs, if they don't get 10 wins, I'll even say that.
10.
If they don't get 10 wins and stay healthy, it's on Aaron Rodgers. There's no, if they're healthy, there's no reason for them not to win 10 games other than Aaron's washed. I mean, really, they won 7 and beat the Texans and beat the Eagles and beat the Bills with the worst quarterback play in the league. All he's got to do is be pretty good. I also think this, Nick, he was not motivated his last year. Now, that's a slight against him, but his last year in Green Bay, he clearly wasn't motivated. He clearly wasn't all in. There were no off-season workouts. He wasn't really trying to develop rapport with the young receivers. Mm-hmm. He's all in now. And that's what convinced me before he got hurt. I was like, you know what? They might be pretty good because he's clearly all in. He's working out in the offseason. So I think, Wiles, I know you're against it, but
I'm not.
I'm just saying, not slinging it as well as ever, but I would not be surprised if he comes back with a good season.
Yeah. I agree with what Brew is saying. I think that the Packers, that the Jets will get into the playoffs, and I think they absolutely can make noise. They did relatively well, relatively speaking, with a terrible quarterback. What do you think? You really think that they're not going to be better with Aaron Rodgers? I mean, come on. That's just absurd, right? Unless Aaron Rodgers cannot recover from the Achilles or is just completely washed, I just don't see it. I mean, even if he's not even playing as the best he's been and those, like the graphic that, they put up, if he's just a pretty good quarterback, if he's just Tom Brady in his final year, which a lot of people thought was not good, but yet still good enough to make it to the playoffs, and they were put all the weight on Tom Brady, making him throw the ball in his final game like 50 times or something outrageous. And so I think the Jets are more complete. And again, right, the whole question is will they stay healthy? They've definitely got a lot of players who are older or injury prone who have the potential to go down, and that is without a doubt a problem. So I think the Jets could be kind of like dominoes, where it looks really beautiful when you're like looking at the top, but then all it does is just have to flick it and it'll all come crumbling down. I think that is definitely a possibility. But if they can stay relatively healthy, then I absolutely positively believe that the Jets will make some noise. And I do think they will make the playoffs. I really, really do. I don't see why they wouldn't. I don't see who's going to be able to edge them out. Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. There's just no argument there. He finally has an unbelievable defense, and that defense should be just as legit as it has been in years past. And the Jets' offense should improve not only because of what they've been able to build, but now also adding Aaron Rodgers. So how can this team that went had 7 wins not win another 3 or 4 games? I would be blown away if they don't win 10, 11 games. I really would be. So those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you think? Do you think Aaron Rodgers and the Jets can make some noise, or do you think that they're just going to collapse like a house of cards? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.